Welcome to the 1-0 podcast. I'm your host, Dom Skeen, along with every single Tuesday, my distinguished co host, the voice of the Teal Sleeve Boys, the only Mariners rapper. You see him do that money spread with the baseball cards. Come on now. Wait, who we got? Who we got on them cards? Show us who we got.
Oh man, we got OG, Edgar Martinez, we got Luis Castillo, The Rock, we got Cody Bellinger, we got Alvin Davis. How you like that one? And Logan Gilbert, all customs, also by my boy Rips and Cuts. So he's got the crazy C background for him right there. You know what I mean? Doing his thing. Shout out Rips and Cuts, giving his love.
Shout out
Crazy
Rips and
car,
Cuts. Go on
crazy.
his Instagram. Tell him Dom Skeen. Tell him the 1-0 podcast sent you. Um,
Definitely.
but getting into the 1-0 podcast, you think, okay, I'm looking at this pitching schedule for this week, Don, and I'm like, okay, you got JT Ginn, Jacob Lopez, you got Aaron Savali on Wednesday.
Mm,
You're gonna have the three Cardinals pitchers, and you're gonna miss their best pitchers. You're gonna get Michael McGreevy, who didn't have the best night on Monday. You're gonna
mm,
get Kyle Leahy. I think you might get in their rotation. So basically, you had 7 games last week. A big 7 game week takes it out of
mm.
anybody in Major League Baseball,
Right.
anybody in general. If you were to work a 7-day week,
Mm,
however, you get the Rangers pitching. Nathan Eovaldi, Mackenzie Gore, Jacob DeGrom, all guys who have been all
mm,
stars,
mm,
and you get the Padres pitching. You get Randy Vasquez, who's nice. You get Michael King, who's awesome. Who if he barring injuries, would be an all star. I
sure.
bet on it this year and even
Mm,
last year. You get guys like that. So
mm,
looking at that, I'm like, even Mike Burrows, for Houston is like a
mm.
guy that is pretty popular breakout pick, a guy with some tough pitches. Every pitcher the Mariners face this week is tougher than every single one they faced last week. And so
Mm.
this is the week that I'm thinking, okay, a little bit, a little less hard of the one of these weeks where Cal, Julio, Naylor, their stats can normalize. Everybody can get right on, basically onto the track that we planned for them at the beginning of the season. But you go out on Monday night, you lose, JT Ginn does just enough to keep his team, in that game. You don't quite step on their neck, and you let them just get back up and then,
Yeah.
pull you down back into it, however you want to, say it happened. What is your opinion on the fact that, at this level, right, there are no easy weeks?
For sure. Yeah, to double down on that, I agree. There's no easy weeks, you'll see some people feel like it's easy, like oh they see our opponent and what happened to them last year or who their caliber looks like and like, oh, we'll cakewalk them. A lot of people like to fall asleep like that. You just can't. You just can't fall asleep. Stepping on their necks, closing out. Very good point, my brother. It's tough to see. Looking back at the game and the highlights, just those game of inches, like you said, post game, just missing a tag. Tough play at home, but still missing that tag. Small things came back to bite us. So we gotta, yeah, you just gotta squash the bug. You gotta squash the bug. The only way that you don't squash the bug is like a 12-1 at like the seventh inning, then maybe you can act like you're okay. But even then, if you get two lacks, here goes 4 runs, here goes whatever, So don't fall asleep. I guess is the motto. So yeah, a lot of creep moves, a lot of creep back into the game stuff where it's like, dang, I thought we had that, or man, I thought we were inches away from closeout. So yeah, just gotta close the door.
I think that's a good point where they kind of creep back into it. It's not all at once. It's not, oh, we're letting the base runners, but we're getting away with it, right? It's like
Right,
the
right.
base runners happen, things creep towards, and a good way to look at that is the win probability added chart on Baseball Savant. If you've ever
Mm,
seen that,
mm.
where it shows, okay, the percent chance to win, it goes from 99, then they get
Yeah, it's
runners on
so
base,
funny
then
to
it
watch
goes
that.
97 and then 93
Yeah.
and then 88, right? And then, oh,
Mm.
now the homers hit and now it's 50% chance to win.
35. Yeah, yeah, you just heard.
And now another homer in 35, right?
Right,
So,
right. Yeah.
um, that is the truth of it. From an
Mhm.
analytical standpoint, that the odds are never as close to I mean, even 99 is not as close to 100% as you think because it's like, oh, well, with a bunch of hits, that changes all the math, right?
Hmm.
It's not like,
Hmm.
oh, 99% chance, but if they, start coming back, then it'll still be a 99. It's at that given moment, which is changes based on what each team does to go on 1-0 in the next inning and the inning after that.
For
And
sure.
the Mariners right now, through 24 games, almost five entire times through the rotation. Can you believe it? Almost five
Wow.
starts for everybody.
Hmm.
But 10
Yeah.
and 14 so far, yeah. And 2.5 games back in the division. So now Fangraphs has
Mm.
us. Before the season, we were one of their highest kind of percentage teams to make the playoffs based on their
Right.
projections. We're
Hmm.
now 71.7% chance to make the playoffs still. So that's good.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
to win the division, I think it started out at like 60 or something. Don't quote me on that. But
Hmm.
now we are at 48% flat.
Hmm. Yeah, but the numbers have no soul. You know what I'm saying? The numbers have no soul, the numbers have no give. So they are a thing, they are a metric, but like we said at this time in the season, it's like, man, it's not any time to panic. It does suck. It does suck to have the numbers move so out of our favor. But like you said, that 99 isn't even as close to 100 as you think. The hits, the momentum, it's almost like Madden. You know what I'm saying? When you're playing Madden and you get that momentum, like you know how many points you need to come back, but now you've done this momentum piece that like doesn't have a quantitative figure. It's just like, oh man, I'm up and I'm making every grab. So, like you said, we have an easier sort of week where our guys can get eyes on the ball, where we can get more looks, where these at bats can, level the numbers like you said. So it's it's gonna be like a good proving ground moment. It's a good moment to learn right here. It's a good moment to adjust, stack some wins, I'd say, and get into a flow state.
Absolutely. And looking ahead to today's game, another 6:40 start time Tuesday night in the Pacific Northwest. You get
Hey.
a left-hander where the Mariners have had their struggles against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
Especially these starters. You lead off Rob Refsnyder. That's what the team tells us. That's what they want to do. We want to lead off Rob Refsnyder in these left-handed pitching situations. We want to get obviously Mitch Garver in the lineup on the day games. We even want to get Connor Joe in the lineup when we can.
Yeah, why not?
Pinch hitting him off the bench for not for Josh Naylor always on the uh, on a given night, but for Dom Canzone, sure, right? They're gonna.
Mm,
I mean, last night was the first time they let Canzone face a lefty. Um,
yeah.
when they had Connor Joe on the bench. So, what are your opinions on playing the platoons? And
Yeah.
what they, I mean, you had some success on Sunday in the Steelhead unis, which undefeated in the Steelhead unis, but
Yay, yay.
3-0 still. But
Yeah,
then
man.
you got Refsnyder hitting that home run, first pitch off Gore, a little more success against the lefties. What do you
Mm.
see? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, when you see the success and you see the early success, of the kid, it's great. It's great to see. I just don't, I think you can't not let Canzone face anyone he wants right now because the bat's hot. So why wouldn't you let that guy play and let him see these things that maybe, he's obtuse to usually battling against because he's making it happen right now. So let the juice flow. But it's good to see, it's good to see a cat doing great, pinch hitting, against these lefties too. Like we said, we've talked about the issues with the lefties. It is a thing we do need to get right. But yeah, yeah, you got to let Canzone get up there. He's hot right now, and hopefully we can correct this lefty problem. I don't know. I don't know if it's an at bat thing or if it's just a flow state thing. Getting into these more greetings. Like you said, we've 5 rotations through. Maybe it's just a rotation thing. But yeah, we just got to find our way. We're still really trying to find our way, as wonky as that sounds, and I know people hate to hear that. But yeah, we're just trying to get level. That's all.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
I mean, you look at the numbers for Canzone, right? Last year, an 879 OPS versus right-handed pitching,
Yeah,
713 OPS versus left-handed pitching. So, he wasn't quite as good, but he did all right last year, and that's in a,
yeah.
68 plate appearance sample size, 58 at bats. So, nothing definitive there.
Mm.
I mean, versus right-handed pitching, he's much better, no doubt. But can he ever be more than a platoon guy? And I mean, do you need him to be on the team right now? Not necessarily. Not if the platoon guys pick up. And
Mhm.
I mean, Connor Joe had that double on Sunday, or it should have been a double, but he hits the
Right, right.
umpire down the line.
Mm. Tough.
Ends up staying at first. Um, but our platoon bats are seeing the ball well right now. And the last thing I would say, like I do my post game last night. I go on for 30 minutes as I usually do. The
Yeah,
last
man.
thing that I'm thinking is, oh, you shouldn't have pinch hit the platoon bats for each other as you always do. I'm more interested in, why does Dan Wilson stick with those platoon bats even though they're not hot to begin the season? Maybe it's because he knows what happens when they get on.
Right. I think that's true. I think it's a balance of that, knowing when a guy can, get hot or break out or when he needs to battle through some things, as a player. And we just got to rely on Dan and the other coaches who played the game, who know the guys to understand that. And I think that, yeah, like you said, that's what's happening. He's feeling it out, where cats can go, where cats can play right now. And like I said, I keep saying it, but just trying to get guys closer to that flow state, closer to that space where they're comfortable, closer to a space where you're playing, you're top notch, and you're ready for what's coming at any moment. It's just getting back into it.
Absolutely. And we talk about guys, finding their flow, finding, their groove. I don't think
Mm,
there's, I mean, we have a really streaky reliever in our bullpen, and that's Casey Legumina. He
mm,
goes for 10 innings at a time, scoreless, blanks the other team. His stuff is not, he doesn't have any overpowering stuff. He's got a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got, a 79-mile-an-hour sweeper. A sinker, 93 miles an hour. And then a changeup, 87 miles an hour. None of those, I mean, the changeup, a little bit above like league average on the velocity, but he only throws that 10% of the time. Like, this isn't an overwhelming velocity guy. He gets hot sometimes. And Dan Wilson chooses to ride a guy like Casey Legumina.
mm.
Why do you think, a guy like Dan Wilson is choosing to ride a guy like Casey Legumina? Do you think it's part of the old school in him? And I mean, do you think that there's some merit to that? Do you think because obviously Dan Wilson wants to do well and stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of fans, right, will say, "Oh, Casey Legumina shouldn't be on the team, whatnot."
Right.
But when you look at what he actually does, right, it's like he's super productive sometimes.
For sure. And I don't think, ending up being labeled maybe as a streaky guy makes you a bad player. It just, maybe you're just here and there a little bit, and that's true. But I think it does go to your merit, and it does go to somebody's belief in you that they'll stay, on your team. They'll stay putting you in. They'll stay putting you in a situation, because of course he's not putting you into a situation so we can take an L and we can just walk off with our heads hung low, so I think he believes in our guys, and that's why he stays with those guys. And I do think that he would make that switch if it wasn't, the right fit, because we have a lot of weapons that we're cycling through even with the injuries. I mean, a lot of people sell people short for one mistake, but being a streaky guy means that you showed up and that you do pull things off. I mean, we had guys trying to completely erase Bizardo after last year. And I was like, come on, man. So, being a streaky guy shows that you still have potential. You know what I mean? And you're showing up, and it seems like the merit is large with him and Dan. So, yeah, I say, let's go. Crack the whip till he breaks, because that's just the way it is. And until he shows you that he can't pull up, he's an option.
Absolutely. Casey Legumina, I mean, also there's something to be said about if you were to, this guy doesn't have any options. So he's either on the team, you can't send him back to Tacoma, or
Hmm.
you release him basically to
Okay,
waivers.
didn't know that. Didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, they're getting the innings out of him early in the year. And if he comes
Hmm.
around to the All Star break with a, sub 2 ERA, sub 3 ERA, he's probably not off the team.
Hmm.
You already had the injury to Carlos Vargas earlier. You're going to need everybody. I
Hmm.
mean,
Oh
and
yeah.
speaking of needing everybody, you got Brennan Donovan, who
Hmm.
obviously has to exit the game for the third time this
Man.
season, this weekend. One of them was a sickness. Two of them, injuries related. One was related to like a quad, that he pulled running to first base. I think in Texas, when you predicted him to homer, by the way. Um,
I know.
and then there was the sickness. He has to come out and he's feeling ill,
Hmm.
take a few days off. Now it's the hip, which he actually had surgery on this
Mm.
offseason. How much, can this team miss Donnie Be Good?
We don't want to miss him at all. We really don't. We don't want to miss him because I feel like he's one guy who seems to keep his same heat, his same personality, his same energy, so to say. He really brings that like every time. Not to say anyone else doesn't, but he's one of those guys who's a spark plug, I would say. So we liked what he was doing. We love the energy, whether or not it's myth or not. Everyone has bought into that. He's making us better. So we don't want to miss him. We really don't. And I'm sad to see, and hear that it's something that he's already had problems with. That's tough. But yeah, just hoping for a speedy recovery, man. We need that guy. We need all our guys like that to stay hot, so these other guys can, while they're still getting warmer and warmer, they can catch fire too. So everybody can be red hot.
Absolutely. Now, the silver lining to this, obviously, need Brendan Donovan back. He does make the team
Mm,
better. There's no question about that.
for
As
sure.
his mythos is already rising. In Seattle to how much he's making the Mariners offense better. Just with, base hits. Getting a four
Right.
average hitter in the ballpark. Really the first time since Ichiro you've been somebody who's that invested in hitting singles. It's funny because he's already hit a couple homers too.
Right. Right.
But on an at bat basis, he's such a driven singles hitter. Same thing with Josh Naylor. You could say to an extent, but he's a little streakier, right? Not exactly the same style.
Mhm.
The one possible silver lining to Brendan Donovan missing a little bit of time is that you get to see where this team's at with JP Crawford leading off. And JP in 2026, the stats are still young, but he's batted first, sixth, and seventh. And in that, batting sixth, no hits in 5 plate appearances, batting seventh, 156 average and 40. But then batting first, leading off, JP, 333 average, 5 hits and 15 at bats. What do you think about JP leading off overall? Having that be one of the ways that you start 2026. Look at that.
Had to do it. No, I love
Had
it,
to.
man. I love that. I love that Dan does move our guys up and down, of course, right in the lineup to find where they're comfortable. Me personally, now hearing the numbers, I forget where you said him batting sixth, where his average is,
Not, yeah,
but
doesn't have a hit
you
yet.
know, yeah, it doesn't have a hit yet. So it seems like he wants to be either at that top spot or at the near bottom, maybe, right? But obviously the top spot he looks good. I liked seeing him down in the lower slot, simply because we seem to really struggle down there in our lower half, and having him down there on the reset was really cool to see. And he'd re-energize our lineup. I felt like. But yeah, go to their strengths, man. Go to the strengths. I won't lie, I like seeing him lower. But if he's leading off and he's that menace that he always has been, and he's getting on the bag, he's forcing a walk or a hit. That's what the captain does. Let the captain shine. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, then yeah, so going back to last season,
Mm.
he had a 400 average batting six, but only 12 plate appearances, 10 at bats. So,
Okay.
so
Small
four for
sample.
10.
Yeah.
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 Batting ninth last year, 270 average. Batting first, 261. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, like he definitely does play. He feels the biggest, feels the largest at
Mm-hmm.
either the 1 or the 9 spot.
Mm.
But Leo Rivas, obviously batting like a
Oh
buck
yeah.
60 on the year, not the best
Right.
batting average, but he's walking a ton. His on base is
Mm-hmm.
like up near
He's a menace
300.
for
And then
sure. He's a
also,
menace.
Cole Young really
Right.
going through a streaky, part right now, or not even a streaky part, but looking like he might be streaky this year where, he gets hot, he gets a little cold,
Mm.
and the stats, go up and the stats cool off a little bit. But both of them last night in the ninth inning getting base knocks off the A's closer who hasn't allowed
Right.
much all year.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like right now, you've got the top of the order with you've
Yeah.
got the all stars, the everyday guys.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then the bottom of the order, you've got your young guys and your kind
Mm-hmm.
of roster bubble guys fighting for a spot still. Then
Right.
in the middle, right, you've got your platoon bats basically.
Hmm.
If that bottom can come around, I mean, the bottom and the top can come around. The platoon guys are the ones who mashed last week and are, I
Right.
mean, hot to start the week. Canzone, then Rayleigh last week.
Yeah.
How do you think this lineup comes together? Finding a surge from one of those different portions at any given time of the season.
I think this. I think it's it's an at bat at a time type of experiment. But I think you get there just through the time, and then I feel like we end up meshing that breakdown you had. It's like our everyday guys, platoon bats, scrappy, trying to stick around. I feel like Dan then he starts to blend them. So then you start to see, okay, this Luke's a little bit higher. Maybe Luke's batting four spot, or it gets a little tricky. It gets wild, and I've seen it happen. So that's what I like to see because once you start blending those guys and how they move, due to how they've been, at bat, that's when you see your situationals happening and Leo Rivas getting up there with a crazy count and walking on to get back into the top of the lineup to move these guys around. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we just want to take it sample rate, small, one by one. But yeah, seeing that blend is important because yeah, all those guys. If you're an everyday guy, it doesn't mean you get to be 1 through 4. It just means you're an everyday guy, and you might need to bat nine. You just might need to bat nine. You never know.
Absolutely. The one thing that's for sure is that there are no easy weeks at this level. We expect this week to
Mhm.
be a good one, but you can never guarantee. Before we get out of here for today, a little bit of a shorter episode. We're gonna whip around the league next week, so stay tuned next week. As I mean, the stats are gonna continue to normalize around the MLB. We're gonna continue to have some big prospect debuts and stuff, hopefully in the next coming weeks to talk about. Um, However, in the Mariners culture, is there anything that you see, that you feel like needs addressing?
I mean, just always want to address our fans. Of course, we love our squad, we love our peoples, but stay calm. Let's not get too hasty. I heard that it's immaculate vibes, so let's keep the vibes immaculate. I got FOMO because I'm not there, and I wish I was there to put more energy into the guys. But stay behind the team, stay with us. Just get that crazy idea already that we're winning the series. Just think it right now. Just start it already, and just hold that energy up. You know what I'm saying? I just want to put that out into the matrix one time, and then I want to shout out. I know he's a little removed from us now, but I want to shout out Ty France and his lovely wife on the new edition. They got twins on the way, so shout out my boy Ty France, man. Shout out to the big dog. That's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And really, I mean, the truth of it is, you got to live with the next play mindset. Got to live
Mm-hmm.
with the next hitter mindset, the next game mindset. And that's why we say that as long as you go 1-0 every pitch, stay stoic, don't get too high, too low.
Mm-hmm.
Make it about something bigger than yourself. Give all glory to God.
Yes, sir.
You can't lose. We will be back next week and we'll go around the MLB, talk about April. April's going to be almost over. Can you believe it?
Crazy.
Yep. But we'll see you guys then. And as long as you go 1-0, stay stoic, give all glory to God. You can't lose. Go M's.
Yes, sir.